It has returned, as I have feared. The sickness must not gain power. There is only one way to make sure this does not happen. It is up to them to push back against the coming storm. My children will fight. They will save us all.
Welcome back to the channel. I'm super excited for this episode. This is my first podcast since I joined the content creator program. Yay! And it comes on the heels of the big action combat reveal for Alpha 1 Phase 1 testing. So passing through the gateway today are my lovely guests, BraneGames and NateSmooth. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
So we're going to go ahead and start with Brane. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm one of the older community members. I've been on the podcast once, I believe, before. And yeah, I've been trying my hand at creating content, but I'm kind of getting stuck due to real life getting in the way. But yeah.
We'll get you back on the horse. And Nate, what about you?
Yeah, I've been on the podcast once before as well, and I'm just here trying to get in on the streamer side of the content creation, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and dive into some of the juicy news we received on this past live stream. So obviously the big thing on everyone's lips is going to be the action combat revealed for Alpha. Edit. Yeah. So I was not lucky enough to catch that live stream live, but I think if I had caught it live, I would have been too overhyped to like even think. So it took me a while, like a few passes to like get some information written down. So my initial thoughts on the action combat was just whoa, like wow. Like, I knew Intrepid was fiddling around with their action combat, but I honestly was not expecting this level this early on. So I was reading some of the comments on Twitter and the official Discord. I initially didn't get the feeling that everyone was saying, like the Warframe kind of thing. I saw elements of like Paragon, Terra, BDO, and some of the Elder Scrolls on the first view of the video. But then after rewatching it a little bit, then I got like the Warframe type of vibe everyone was tweeting about. Alright, so the big question though still remains for me is, will the action combat side of Ashes have weight behind it, and will it be impactful when we're playing it? So I guess, you know, testing, we'll have to see about that. So I want to get your guys' reaction on the video and the action combat. How do you feel about it, and what are your views on action combat in general? We'll start with Brane.
So I was like super hyped when I first saw it. I thought it looked like completely amazing. I honestly didn't really have any high hopes for the way that it was gonna look, due to like the Alpha Zero footage that we had gotten like quite a few months before. But I really think it looks amazing. Usually I'm really into tap targeting, but to be honest, I was kind of thinking of going more actiony when the game launches, if it like goes in such a great direction. Well, in terms of what we've already seen.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Nate?
I was honestly super surprised when they said action combat. I was like thinking the biggest action combat game we have right now, which was BDO. I was expecting something just really like button smashing, super fast paced like that. So to see like how like slowed down and not necessarily complicated, but involved it was, I was super ecstatic. That was exactly what I was thinking I wanted from a action combat system. So to see them like do that, especially from where they were at Alpha Zero with their tab targeting then, when it looked kind of clunky.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing that they've been able to like make that kind of progress in such a short amount of time, and to make it look so smooth and well put together. Yeah, and I've been on the Discord quite a bit since it, and I've seen a couple of people talking about the effects that like weapons and everything should have in the action combat system. So like everyone, like they announced in it for Alpha 1, the weapons are gonna have like their own set of skills along with which weapon you choose. Right. And people were also like saying, you know what, like we can take it one step further, and like because they saw people like doing the Warframe thing where you're kind of like jumping around and then you're just kind of smashing for the melee, so you're just kind of gliding and hitting. But people want the physics to be like, oh, if you like swing a giant mace one way, you're not going to be able to jump the opposite way and just kind of jump around like that. And I thought that was interesting. I just feel that adds an extra layer to the action combat that already seems like so much fun.
Right, and I want to touch on that. I know Steven had said that we're going to have collision for PvP. So it kind of makes sense that, you know, if you're like this huge berserker, like trying to swing, it doesn't make sense for you to try to swing and then, you know, be jumping in the air like that. So I can kind of see how testing is going to get that to be improved upon, I guess you can say, because in the video it does look weird. Like the guy's body is kind of like twisting. So maybe they still need to work out on those kinks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I see them putting out a lot of hot fixes during A1.
Definitely. I think he said they want to do a 7-month stretch for Alpha where they just test. So we're going to jump into one idea that I had when I thought about these potion launchers that they were talking about, that you could essentially switch out and have different abilities in. It brought me to a mindset of could we possibly see, and this is kind of early, could we possibly see later on a gunner type of class in the game? Not necessarily a traditional gunpowder and bullets type of gunner, but like maybe a magic-based gunner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm probably jumping the gun, but that got me thinking about that. So we're gonna touch on some of the high points of this live stream. I'm not gonna go into all of them because there's gonna be tons of videos of other people doing it, and yeah. So one thing I want to ask you guys your thoughts on are the armor system. So Matt Broom, he actually said that each piece of armor is going to have 30 pieces to it, so you can customize each piece. What are your thoughts? Like, are you happy about this? I don't know. Just what are your overall thoughts about this system?
I think it's insane.
You think it's insane?
Yeah, I think like 30 pieces, that's a lot.
Yeah, most definitely.
You know, I'm kind of used to WoW, and I believe they have like 20 pieces or something that you have to deal with. And some of them are not even like visible. And I think from a customization standpoint, it's going to be, you know, super interesting and also kind of hard to mix match so many different things together.
Yeah,
but it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when he said, considering they have 64 classes and the races, and then on top of that, that's just for males, and then they have to do females on top of that as well.
That sounds right.
That is crazy.
I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to like character customization and RP and just like wanting to be part of your character, not just being outside looking in, this is super exciting for me. It's like how do I put it? It's like dress up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like dress up in a video game, pretty much, right?
I know I'm already like going to be using like 2+ hours in character customization when the game comes out, and how there's just like even more customization to add on top of that with
You're never
not
gonna
only
leave.
like looks, but also like gameplay wise. Like you have your, how many races is it? Like
8,
9,
We're at
8, 9,
9,
5.
9
No, wait.
races?
And then 2 like sub
Yeah.
races that equals 10. I think we're at, because we have the Tolnar is just 1, so I guess
Yeah.
So it's
9.
So you have like the 9 races, the 64 class combinations. Now you also have the gear plus the weapon skills. Like it's just going to be insane, alongside the talent tree as well. So it's just like, it's nuts.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you're gonna have the other systems like religion, and then you're gonna have the
social
crafting
organizing.
and da.
So-
Yeah. Whew, that's
Shout
a
out
lot.
to the art team.
Yeah, they are killing it. I'm gonna tell you that much. They are killing it, and the level of detail that they have in just this phase for the action and the weapons and just overall is amazing. Whew. I'm like breathless. So they did talk about the I'm gonna touch on character customization. So Steven in during the live stream, he did say at some point in alpha, I can't remember if it was phase 1 or phase 2, they wanted to do the character customization suite to where it's kind of like a Blade and Soul or a BDO system where you can create your character before the game launches and then save that template. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I'm looking forward to see what they do with it, because I know Steven kind of talked about also wanting to do like contests for character creation. So like being able to save your template and potentially being able to like share it with other people is just going to be like another aspect of like being social with people, which I think is really awesome, and like another way of being creative.
Right. I'm kind of afraid of kind of afraid of all the ugly characters that are gonna come out.
No.
Because people do that. People they create the ugliest character, and they're like, "This is mine," and then you see them in game, and it's just horrible. Like, oh, immersion breaking. Just, oh my god. All right, so another thing that they talked about was some type of implementation of the backer pack cosmetics being put into the alpha testing, so people can try those on and see how they look in game themselves. I don't know if any of you are backers or what packs you have, but what would be like a cool costume you guys would like to see in game that you've only seen concepts of?
Fire and ice.
Yeah. What about you, Nate?
I actually haven't seen that much. I'd like to see the mounts. I'm excited for the mounts after they release the battle ram.
Its head is so small.
I know. Both the Discord and the Twitch were like, it's so small. I got a big body but a tiny head. I was dying, but like I'm excited to see the mounts because there were a lot of mounts in the Kickstarter and even on the cosmetic packages. So it'd be cool if they implement that, but I doubt it.
That would be kind of cool. I'm also excited about the mount system, because those are going to be 100% customizable. Yeah, so armor mounts are going to be a thing in the game. I was almost disappointed that the battle ram wasn't actually a ram you could use during a siege.
I know, right?
That could you just think about it?
What's the point?
Like,
Yeah, like
tiny head?
I don't know if any of you ever played Elder Scrolls Online. So
No.
okay, so they have a system during their castle sieges where every player can carry a battling ram, and when you place it down, it has like an automated action where like it just starts to ram the door. So I think it would be kind of cool to see this huge ram just like butting a castle. I don't know. That's the first thing I thought of. It's like, damn, why can't I have that during a siege?
But I think Steven kind of touched on that once. Like he talked about there being different types of mounts. So like potentially it could be like a combat mount for you to ride into battle with, kind of similarly to a dragon, but not in the sense that you're flying
right
on top of the battlefield.
So talking about mounts, and I know this has been a wide speculated discussion about mounts, but what are you guys' feelings about implementing flying mounts?
Awesome. Do it.
What about you, Brain?
To some extent, I feel like I like the term gliding when they talked about that, because I feel like it gets you like a further distance, but it's not necessarily you like kind of skipping over old content. Then again, like notes are gonna be destroyed and they're gonna be built up again, so essentially you shouldn't really be running out of content in a certain zone. But I'm kind of skeptical about you kind of not really enjoying and seeing the landscape from the point of view of a ground mount.
Right.
And I also like, the fact that the only mounts that are capable of flying are the dragons, and they're going to be like super duper rare, which is like just going to make seeing one so much cooler.
Right. So for Alpha 1, they said they have under 10,000 participants, and they're going to have several battle modes for PvP during this alpha test. So the first test is going to be obviously testing the action combat in PvP battlegrounds, which are going to encompass 100 players. So what are your guys' thoughts on PvP, and specifically PvP battlegrounds if you haven't played any? And are you looking forward to the system? Brain?
Yeah.
Like, don't ask me.
So basically, I've never really been a PvPer. I have always been the kind of person that walks around and collects transmog, like in World of Warcraft, doing like old raids for fun. I've always kind of been intimidated by it, but lately I've been getting into more PvP style games like Fortnite and some first-person shooter games. And I mean, I'm intrigued, but I think that there's so much going on the screen in that action combat video that I'm kind of concerned that I'm not going to be able to see anything or know what to do with it.
Right.
So I'm likely just going to be hiding behind a tree and just trying to watch at people from a distance if possible.
You're gonna be that person where you're gonna see somebody's health go to like 5% and then come out and like blow them up and get credit for the kill. Just snipe everybody's kill. What about you, Nate? What are your thoughts?
I can't wait. It looks like so much fun. I want to just get in there and try to break the system as quickly as possible. I am a little worried, like Brane, just the mages spamming those AoE abilities, because those literally take up your whole screen if you're like anywhere near it.
Mhm.
But I think it'll be fun. The headaches will be real. But I can't wait. I'm just seeing the progress they've done. Like, it gets me super hyped for what's to come.
Right. I have a few concerns about the action combat myself. So I know the Unreal Engine 4 is completely different. They did some awesome upgrades to it, but speaking from experience from playing other Unreal Engine MMOs such as Terra and Blade and Soul, there was a point where there were too many particles on the screen, even if you had an awesome computer setup, whatever. There was times where you would lag. If there were too many people on the screen, they wouldn't load in, or their abilities just wouldn't show, and then you would be essentially, you'd be dead. But on your screen you would still be alive, but in the game itself you were dead. So I'm kind of concerned about all the flashiness of the of all this magic we're seeing in this video. Only because I know there's a good portion of the community who have awesome rigs. Like, they have they have like $1 million rigs, I don't know. And then you have the other part of the community who are playing on potatoes and toasters. So I'm kind of concerned on if we'll be able to scale up or scale down those graphics, the particle effects and such on in alpha, so that way people can give a good testing of the game and not feel like, man, I can't play this game because I'm hindered by my equipment, pretty much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I'm bad at. I'm horrible at this hosting thing. I'm just like, I'm still learning. Okay, you were gonna say something. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
So I think that we've seen like a lot of Unreal Engine projects that hasn't really had the best optimization for big fights. So I'm kind of concerned, like you said, about not necessarily really being able to see what's going on my screen, because my rig is not really the best thing ever. It's decent, right. But to be honest, I don't really think that they would let that large amount of people in if they weren't confident that they would at least be able to, if there is an issue, like fix it. So I think that they've done the back-end work that is necessary, or they can do the back-end work if necessary to make everything work, because it's quite ambitious even for Unreal Engine.
Definitely. What about you, Nate? What do you think about that?
I definitely think they'll have the support if that does become a problem. I mean, Epic is doing really well right now, so I feel like them running Unreal Engine 4 and with what Ashes is trying to accomplish. I feel like they'll have a really good relationship as far as support goes. So on the back end, I think they'll be able to handle it fairly well. I mean, that's definitely why we're doing an alpha, is to kind of fix these things. But I agree with you guys. It could be a major concern, and I could see a lot of people starting to crash because of that. But I don't know. I'm confident in Steven and the dev team to be able to handle it, and actually pay attention to any like concerns anyone are gonna voice around this type of problem.
Right, definitely. So, something that wasn't on the live stream that I wanted to get some opinions about. So I want to talk about one of the systems that's going to be in the game, housing. So, first question: will you guys be participating in housing when it launches?
Oh my god, yes.
So, sorry. Go.
Well, I'm just gonna be the greatest looking character in the entire game, but I'm gonna have the worst gear. That's kind of my goal. So my house is gonna be amazing. I'm gonna have a lot of mounts, but I'm gonna be trash at PvE and PvP.
Just balling on a budget, pretty much.
Right. So housing. There's essentially two types. There is in node housing where if you happen to be at a node when it's leveling up, there's going to be a certain phase where you can buy into the node, and your housing will level up as the node levels up, and you could essentially end up with a mansion or a large house within that node, which then at a later time, if you choose to, you can sell, I believe, if you're tired of it. And then there's the other out of node housing, which is a freehold that is essentially a plot that you can set anywhere you want in the world. Which type of housing would you guys gravitate towards? Anyone?
I'll go first this time. It kind of depends, but like I wouldn't mind having like my own little freehold on like the outskirts, like kind of in the woods. But at the same time, like I wouldn't mind having like it'd be interesting to see if like apartment type buildings pop up in the game, and I just get the whole top floor to myself.
Right.
Just on it. So it'd be fun to have that as well. But yeah, I wouldn't mind either. It'll be a fun part of the game, and I feel like it really adds that kind of personalization to the game that everyone's gonna enjoy, and you don't really see elsewhere.
Yeah.
What about you, Brain?
I think I would go for a freehold that is kind of still near the city, because I feel like the benefit of having that in-node housing is that you're close to a marketplace and whatever resources you might need. But I really want to get into animal husbandry, which I feel as though is probably going to need a freehold to have a barn of some sort, I would imagine. And I feel as though that's going to be best executed when having a freehold.
Right.
And it's going to be the biggest kind of housing, I would assume. But ideally both an in-node house and a freehold at the same time.
I don't think you can have both at this. Wait, maybe I heard that wrong.
Say that
Don't
you could
destroy
have,
our dreams.
one of each type, like a freehold and a in-node house, and then an apartment if you wanted to.
I'm not entirely 100% sure on that. So pros and cons of each of the housing. So with in-game housing, you have the possibility of that node being de-leveled or destroyed, and then your housing, this beautiful. Say you just have this beautiful mansion, the node leveled up to the highest tier, and all of a sudden you get sieged. So then you lose your house, but you don't lose your furniture. It just goes back to your inventory or something. I don't remember, but and then the same thing with freeholds, what happens? Excuse me. What happens when your node gets sieged, and maybe you're outside of the city in your freehold, and you want to try to travel back to the city to help defend? You run the risk of getting ganked along the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's kind of, the risk versus reward. If you get there,
Yeah.
you probably get to save your house, and then you have the potential of killing somebody who's ganking you, or you're just gonna die because you're trash like me.
What?
Oh man.
I wouldn't say that. I don't think anyone is gonna be, well... Okay, moving on. Alright, so let's talk about the Horde mode that's going to be in Phase 2 of Alpha. And I thought this was pretty interesting. So the way they're going to test out their NPC system is a Horde mode intended for 50 players to complete objectives against waves of NPCs. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think it's a great way to test both combat and NPC out, especially what they're doing with Alpha 1, like the pseudo battle royale mode. It's literally just a way to kind of stress test everything and just force people to create these interactions. And I feel like it'll be a fun mini game that'll make testing just like that little bit extra enjoyable for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty good way of testing out the PvE, because when I thought of like the first phase of Alpha 1, I was thinking that, oh well, that's mostly going to be PvP. But I think, figuring out how NPCs interact with the players is going to be really interesting for us to see, and for the devs as well. And like Nate said, it's going to be fun.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to that. I love killing NPCs. Alright, so I'm going to ask you guys kind of a difficult question to answer, because we all have varying opinions and it might be a little bit heated. So we lack a community manager in the Discord at the moment, and as of late it's been kind of toxic. There have been some community volunteer moderators who have been a little bit biased towards other guilds by banning them, muting them, and so on and so forth. So how do you guys feel about the level, the current... Okay, let me rephrase that. How do you guys feel about the current atmosphere of the official Discord?
So I haven't really been active very much, but I definitely feel like there's a problem when moderators are being biased. And I was kind of, thinking that the issue was solved when they kind of purged the moderator team to make sure that, there was no content creators, there was no one with like an unbiased or a biased opinion about certain subjects and stuff like that. So it's definitely like an issue that it's still coming to light, even though they kind of tried to deal with that issue. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about it. The Discord has kind of died down. I think a lot of people like me have gone inactive, either due to real life or just maybe the hype has died down a bit. But, that doesn't really excuse the fact that some moderators can be biased about certain subjects, which is an issue.
What about you, Nate?
I feel like it depends a little bit on which channel you're in, and when I say that, it's like everything except the Ashes discussion. It's definitely better than what it was before they did the first change, because it was the wild west before that. things got pretty crazy, but I definitely do see it now where there's a little bit of biased. But there's some really good ones out there as well. I'm hopping in the Ashes discussion channel like about a couple times a day, and usually it's not too bad. Everyone's like there chatting and everything, and I don't see anything as far as the bias. But in the community section, in the guild section, you definitely see it a lot there. And I don't know. I just feel like there are going to be those people in the community where they try to use whatever they can to their advantage so they can voice their opinion because they think their opinion is better than everyone else's. And it's just rough, but the Discord isn't like the only way to be able to communicate with the dev team and Steven and all them. We still have the forums. Granted,
Right.
that needs a little fixing as well. But
Yeah.
it's just rough because there's going to be people like that in the community, and you hate to see the mods act like that, but it happens. And I feel like it's on a smaller scale than what it was before when there were legit mods in guilds giving their guilds preferential treatment and everything. So I don't know. I definitely hope they hire a community manager soon. It'll definitely help them out and help people get more involved in this Discord and the community. And I feel like that's nothing but a benefit that they should be seeing. But I know like they're also super busy with making the game, and obviously they're going to Gamescom now, and they've got PAX West coming up right after. So
Definitely.
it'll be, yeah. There's room for improvement. And there's definitely some some actions that they need to take with the community as far as how people are speaking to other people.
Definitely. And I asked Steven this on one of the other podcasts for BCG a while back about the community manager. And his response was they were going to be doing that hiring soon. And they also wanted the community to send them suggestions on maybe community members that they would like to see in that role. So it's definitely something that Steven knows he needs to kind of alleviate. I can't talk. Something that Steven needs to kind of alleviate some of the stress that's happening within the Discord. So hopefully they'll get that resolved before PAX. But I don't know. I don't know if that'll happen. Probably. So
hopefully by alpha, when just a lot of content is coming out and the Discord is going to be really active, I hope by then they'll have something in place.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely need. Okay, so I keep saying definitely a lot. They for sure.
That's definitely true.
Yes, they for sure. They okay. They definitely. Sorry, that's my go-to word for everything. They definitely need to get more moderators, I think, for this upcoming wave of alpha people that are going to be interested in the game, because we are no longer at this state of Ashes is looking like a potential game. Now it's an actual contender with this action combat reveal. You know how many junkies of action combat are gonna hop onto this game?
Half the BDO community just came up.
Yeah, like there were some friends of mine who have no idea about Ashes, but I showed them the action combat trailer yesterday, and they're like, "Where do I sign up for that? What is that? What game is that?" And so I'm telling them about it, and they're like, "What? Oh man, dude, I've been playing Blade and Soul, or I've been playing Terra, or whatever." And they're like, "I need something new, fresh," and they're like, "This looks really good." So, oh my god. So it's definitely going to be one of those things that they definitely have to get a community manager in there right away to sort things out with this wave of PAX people that are going to be coming in interested in Ashes. So I'm going to end the segment with one final question for you guys, and it's one that everyone seems to be asking me to ask everyone. So what will be the first thing when the game launches? What will be the first thing you guys do in Ashes of Creation?
Breed animals. I just think it looks so cool, like being able to kind of go into character creation when breeding a mount with another. I think that's really dope. And I would like to, be one of the best if possible. And other than that, I think just explore, like go around and see what I can find in every corner of the world.
What about you, Nate?
Yeah, I agree. The animal husbandry thing looks awesome. They're putting a lot of effort into it, so I'm gonna be coming to you a lot, Brain. Just so you know.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm kind of waiting to see how the dungeon part of the game work and raid. So how like early you can get into it. So maybe I'll be power leveling real quick to get the best gear and stuff. But it's such an amazing looking game, and the effort they're putting into the world. It's like you almost can't ignore the PvE side of the game. Like you just like some days you're just gonna be like, you know what, I just kind of want to run around and do things because
Right.
it looks amazing. So it kind of depends on how the leveling ends up progressing for that. Might power level to a certain level and then like calm down and actually enjoy the game. But it should be just fun to get in. It'll be interesting how the beginning lore ends up being, like what quests you end up doing in the town you start off at, since there is no like kind of central questing to the game since it's player driven. But I'm just excited to play. Like this MMO was such a huge project that everything seems fun to me right now.
Right.
It's hard to know what to do with it.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. Like I'm super excited every time we get some new news or new concepts or new lore. I'm just hyped 24/7 about everything Ashes. I'm just hyped. Period.
Definitely.
For me personally, I think the first thing I obviously would do for like 3 hours is character customization.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like
Not
the
gonna see
game
me
will
leave
say, like the game will tell me, you were kicked because you were idle. I'm like, I wasn't. I was in character.
You were just messing with one slide for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, like the eyes don't look right. No.
My nose is just a little too big.
Boobs are too big.
What? No, the boobs
Too
aren't big
small?
enough. My butt's not big enough. Yeah, definitely character customization. The second thing, however, will be once I get into game. I've had this discussion before where people are wondering if it'll be better to go out and explore the world or hunker down and kind of just level a node right away. I'm kind of on the level of gathering with the guild and then finding a node to level up really quickly, or to get the first initial XP going, and then going out and doing dungeons, raids, and PvP and all that other stuff that has to offer, and plus lore. Like I want to explore and find all the statues and just like learn the lore and like
Steven doesn't want to put any of it out. Like I'm so frustrated, but I just know it's for the best.
Yeah. But,
Everything's pure mechanics. There's
it's just like, give us something.
I feel bad for the RP side of the game. They literally it's like obviously they get excited over seeing the mechanics and stuff because that's what they're going to be playing the game, but they're also like, but nothing else? You're just going to leave us hanging here?
Yeah.
For all the stuff he leaks. it's never about the story.
But yeah, I think it's gonna be really awesome though once we get a tidbit of lore from in game, how amazingly rich the RP community is going to be in the game.
Yes, and we're gonna like be able to experience it because there's no specific servers for a specific action. I'm actually really excited about that.
I'm super excited to see the bards or the scholars that come out of the RP community just to tell stories of their server and what happened on that server.
Yeah.
It's gonna be amazing.
I think they're going to be a huge part of the community, more than people think they have been in past games and stuff. I think they'll be huge with progressing the lore forward and just really like making it a complete experience for everyone. And like you said, just like people like talking about what happened on their server and kind of documenting it. Like even just that like makes the game 1,000 times more interesting.
Yes, definitely. I'm 100% behind you. I'm so excited. Like I can't contain myself. So we're gonna go ahead and end this podcast. It was awesome. This episode was super awesome. Thank you guys for being part of it. So yeah, tell everyone where they can go to find your content, and if you have any upcoming content that you want to promote. We'll start with Nate.
Yeah, so my main platform is obviously Twitch as a streamer. So you can find me at twitch.tv/NateSmooth. Pretty simple. I have all my other stuff on there, but I'm mainly active like on Twitter. You'll see me on there talking about Ashes and like kind of updates on what I'm doing. And I'm obviously going to start up a YouTube. Hopefully I get into Alpha 1 somehow. I can figure it out, and you guys will see a bunch of videos and talks on my YouTube, but as of right now it's pretty small. But definitely stop by on my Twitch. I'm starting up like a weekly. I don't know if I'm going to do it 2 times a week or 1 week, where like I'll just play a random RPG that someone recommends to me, and then we're just purely talking about Ashes and where it's going now that we have a ton of information, and more information coming out in a month.
And Brane?
Yes. BraneGames on YouTube, I believe. And I'm not really doing much at the moment, but I'll be posting more soon, hopefully.
Yes, and all the links to their content will be below in the description. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please leave a comment on any of the topics. Let us know how you feel about the action combat. What are you super excited to see about testing? Are you going to PAX? Let us know. Yeah, just let us know in the comments what you think about this reveal. As always, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again on the next one. Peace out.